She gets the rose. She gets the rose. Hello, everyone. I'm Father Aaron. Welcome to the Dungeon Minister. So, I am on my vacation. Yeah, you're on your vacation too, from all the hard work you do. Anyway, I'm on my vacation, and I've been doing a little reading. Ellis Peters, it's medieval, it's a whodunit, it's research. It's research for... Anyway, and I've been editing videos. I just put out the last in the Honeywood campaign series. You can watch that here if you're into the recaps. That had been a while since I had recorded for a number of reasons, but I now have two more after that, episodes already recorded. I just have to edit them because we've played some sessions. But I was also in the midst of making, this minor little project that I'd been working on, the Keep. And so I want to get back to that now just briefly, to bring you up to speed. This will be a model of the Keep as described in the campaign. It is made from foam. The bases are actually pegboard with a frame around them and foam core on top of that, patterned and textured. And the walls, well, I started out using styrofoam for the walls, and I thought I would wrap that in foam core as the texturing surface, and it just didn't turn out too well. It's a lot of bother, and it did not turn out terribly well. So, you know what? I broke down and went out and bought some 2-inch insulation foam. First of all, let me tell you, finding 2-inch insulation foam is not easy, at least not here in Canada, which is strange because it's cold here. You'd think we'd need insulation foam more than Americans, but apparently you can buy 2-inch insulation foam in every corner drugstore in the US. I guess I'm a little bit bitter. At any rate, I did finally locate a store that has it. Home Hardware Building Center, thank you. And I bought a sheet. You've already seen this. I sliced it and diced it into long strips, and I fully intended to chop that up into wall segments like the next night or maybe a night after that. I really intended to get on this sooner, but things happened and I got busy with and then I ended up doing the editing for this. Anyway, the point is, I'm back at it now. And in the meantime, someone... I forget who it was, but I'll put the name up there, thank you very much, suggested why not just use the table saw to cut it, right? Instead of dragging the knife through those long slices I made, and that was not, I made a jig and it all worked out nicely. I was very proud of my jig, but, it was a lot of work. Why not just cut it on the table saw? Well, I hadn't thought of the table saw, or I had thought of it but had rejected it, because I kind of figured it would melt the stuff, right? A lot of friction builds up in a table saw, and you get the wood, you pass wood through, and it comes out. It's got kind of scorch marks down it, right? Now that does mean that I have to sharpen my saw blade. I understand, but I thought it probably would actually actively melt insulation foam. But then I thought, you know what? I'll give it a try, because I'm not going to be going the whole length of it. If I'm looking at essentially a chop saw is what I wanted, but I'd pass it over. I'd use the square, the slidey thing. I don't know the term for it. There's a slidey thing that table saws have that keep things square to the blade. You know what I'm talking about. I'd use that, cut it up nicely. It would be nice and easy. I'd set the fence to the 6-inch, boom, 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 do all the 6s I need, 8-inch, boom, boom, boom. Bob's your uncle, right? Well, I got out yesterday. I went out and I set up the table saw, got it plugged in. I took all the foam out there. I was going to do a test piece to just make sure it wouldn't melt or start fires or something. And I switched on the table saw, and it ran for about 10 seconds, and then it stopped. And so in that, not 10 seconds, probably 4 seconds, and I'm getting the foam, and I'm bringing it over, and it just stops. Okay, turn it on, flip the switch off, turn it back on. It runs and then quits. And there's a little bit of smoke coming out of the switch. Now, I am not a tool expert, but I'm going to say that's a bad sign. Just doesn't look good. So the table saw was out. I got to get the table saw fixed at some point because sometimes I need a table saw. So I'm going to have to get that fixed. Not the whole saw. I'm just going to have to fix the switch. It's not a big, difficult operation. You pop the switch out. As long as the switch is it, and I think with smoke coming out of the switch, it probably was the switch. I'll replace the switch that costs like $11. I'll replace the switch, see if that was the problem at any rate. Well, but in the meantime, I wanted to get going with this, and I realized really what I am looking for is a chop saw. And there's a chop saw in the basement of the parish offices. The same basement where I record my episodes normally. Just through the door and to the left, there's a whole little wood shop there. And I could use that chop saw. It meant going back to work when I was on my vacation, going back to the office, but I do it when no one else is around. That's what I ended up doing. Now, I thought I would set it all up, show you how it went, little video, fast forward, of me chopping through foam, like crazy because it worked a treat. Thought I'd show you that. I thought I'd hit record. Pretty sure I hit record. Nothing recorded, though. I did get to it later. I do have a little bit of chopping up foam footage. Not as much as I thought I'd have. But, well, this is how it went. So I had a whole bunch of 6 and 8 inch pieces to cut, a couple 10s, a couple 11s because they meet in the middle where the seam in the 4 floor quadrants are. So I had a lot to cut, and I started off on it, and I was trying to be relatively judicious. So when I would get to the end of a piece, if I had to cut another 8, but it looked like I had enough for a 10, I'd switch over to the 10 to try to get those big pieces out of. Well, in the end, it didn't matter because I still ended up short. I have the entire front of the castle yet to cut. So I'm going to have to do more strips off of the chunks of insulation foam I've got. I'm going to have to cut more strips, and I don't have a table saw to do it with. So I'm going to do it with a knife and etc. Well, we'll get down that road when we come to it. In the meantime, I did what I could, and then I labeled them. Now, one of the things that I decided on the labeling, and you see I make some mistakes here, but I correct them, is that I will label them to help me know which side is down. Why does it matter? Because when you cut with a knife, you don't cut real straight. In fact, I have a piece. This is the piece. You know what? It may not even show up on camera. I bet if I do this, it will, though. That gap, and another one over here. And on this side, if I put it, it has a leaning tower kind of effect to it. This is the worst of the lot. I judged it to be pretty well unusable just because of the undulations. Given the fact that I'm about this much foam short of finishing, I don't want to use it. I don't want to use it. I don't want to use it. It's just too wacky, right? And it's leaning too much that way. It doesn't lean this way, but it's all, you know, I don't know. So I don't really want to use it. Maybe I use it and I just put a whole bunch of ground cover there, like some, you know, the tufts and whatnot, just to make it look less. Oh, that's a crying out loud. Look at that. Batman could have his headquarters in there. I mean, that's, no. Anyway. So, because of this phenomena, because when you're cutting with a knife and you're trying to keep it up and down, but maybe you get a little this way, maybe you get a little that way, and you end up with this, you know, this lean, I wanted to make sure I had the best surface available, so I was turning to make sure it would be okay. And if I had a factory edge, and you can see on the ends that I didn't cut, the ends I didn't cut have this nice, it's kind of lumpy bumpy, but it's, you know what it is, it's square to the rest of the thing, you know. So I always wanted to make that on the bottom. All right, so this is panel C. You can see it there, and it butts up against D on this side. All right. This is panel B. Oh, there you go. And it butts up against A on that side. And it must butt up against C there. So C butts up against B there. Haha. B, C. Now looking at that, you can't see the whole keep. I'm gonna have to put you up higher so you can see everything. Yep, it is. Don't say it's not, it is. Oh, oh. B2, R2B2. You're saying, hey now, ho now, how do people get in and out of these rooms? And I say, just hang on. That's a real explosive part of the castle. I don't know why Bill Clinton's putting this castle together. This is the hall where the Noel had his little party going on. Getting there, getting there. Hey, what's missing? Well, right there. Where's that wonky piece? I'd show you, but it's really kind of too long, right? Anyway, it goes in here. I do have a few chunks that are leftover bits that aren't long enough for anything. There's a little bit more missing here. But there it is. There it is set up. I also made a little, so as I said, there's doors missing. There would be a doorway here, a doorway here, a door here, here, and here, a doorway, 2 doors. Yeah, that's it. These aren't the character minis. These are actually minis. These came from Show Enough. He sent them to me. They were in a batch, a whole bunch of stuff he sent me. And I have them to hand because they have become sort of go-to stock characters for when both I and the boys are playing. When they play their own games, they DM for each other. They use these, and they got used in my game for the troops under the command of Gorak, who's been made Baronet of Kilmarnock. And because they have a red and sort of yellow, I guess it's more of a beige-ish, it's a little yellow, it's a yellowish brown, yellowish beige, red and yellowish beige kind of overall theme to them. That's the overall tones. I made, that's why I made Gorak's flag red with yellow on it. That's what it looks like with minis in it. Now the doors are another issue. So to get the doors in there, I don't want to freehand it because I'll mess it up and they'll be horrible. So I made a jig. Relatively simple. I just took some plywood and, well, here it is. I'm making it. You know, I fussed it around a little bit and cut it out. And there it is. And I have the pieces here. I have yet to do this. I'm going to glue them together because once glued, this will straddle a piece. I'll glue that together, then I'll have a jig, and I'll just be able to slip it over the pieces where I need a door, even a door or a doorway, and I'll be able to cut that out. And then into the places that have doors, I'll set doors in. I'm not going to bother with little doors that open and stuff like that. It's not a dollhouse. It's a serious thing, Mom. It's not a dollhouse, Mom. So anyway, that's what I'll do. So there you have it. I am beavering away on this. And now, because the cutting of these is so much easier, and because once I get the table saw fixed, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to cut nice flat ones. Most of these are pretty good. Like everything over here is good. Everything over here is just fine. This is a little wobbly. But everything over here is fine. There's a handful where it got messed up and it got messed up bad. This is pretty bad. This isn't great. Then there's really only 2 or 3, and one over there is not spectacular. This one's pretty cruddy. There's not many, and of course I have to redo that. There's not many that are really bad. So I'm thinking I will actually wait till I get the switch fixed. It shouldn't take long because Amazon has the part. They'll send it in a day or 2. I may wait till I have the table saw so I can cut them and know that they're going to be closer to square, at least. Darn close. They won't do this, at least, you know. Yeah, fix up the ones that are really kind of cruddy and go from there. I think that's probably a better solution because I'm not going to live with this. It's going to drive me right up the pole, this kind of stuff. And back here, this is awful. That's pretty bad. That's going to drive me up the pole. So I will fix that if at all possible. I'm pretty sure I can do it. And then when I'm not in the garage cutting things on the table saw or down at the church basement cutting it with the chop saw, I've got to get to texturing. Why do I always forget the horn? Where are you getting the horn?